A lot of smartwatches look like smartwatches, kind of like oversized wrist computers. That's why I'm always intrigued when I see a smartwatch that looks like a watch. Case in point, Samsung's brand new Watch 6. I had the chance to try one out recently and see what it's really like. In this review, I'll tell you what I found after wearing the watch for about 2 weeks. I'll tell you how it feels, what it looks like, and what you can do with it, as well as what you can track and how useful it is both with Samsung gadgets and any other options. Since I haven't reviewed a watch from Samsung in some time, I'll get you up to speed with me here. I've got the Watch 6 here, and there is also a variant called the Watch 6 Classic with a stainless steel case and a leather band, and it does come with a slightly larger size option as well. The Classic also has a rotating bezel, which you can use to scroll through some of your apps without touching the screen. Samsung, like Google, has opted for a round watch face to maybe counter Apple's insistence on being the square at the wearables party. The watch design of my test sample uses a light gray band with a silver bezel, so it looks a bit more like a regular watch and less like Beam Me Up Scotty. The Amoled touchscreen is light and bright and seems more colorful and intense than my last go-round with the Samsung watch. I received a new Samsung Z Flip 5 as well to test with the watch to ensure a perfectly seamless Samsung ecosystem experience. The setup did seem to take quite a long time, but I chalk that up to my own lack of familiarity with both the new Z Flip 5 and with the watch interface. Now, Samsung fans will probably breeze through this setup process a lot faster. The watch has a really nice design and it feels leaner on the wrist than the last one I reviewed. The silicone band is comfortable if rather plain looking, but there's also plenty of other band options too. My biggest beef with smartwatches at the moment is that they're clearly designed for men, and men only it feels like. They're both overpowering and unnecessarily clunky on a woman's wrist, and I say that as someone who does prefer a larger watch. The loaner watch I got here came with only one size of wristband, so I'm not sure I had the ideal fit since it was a bit droopy, and I often got demands from the watch asking me to put it up higher on my wrist so it could take proper readings. Now, I can't tell if there is only one size of band here or if an alternate smaller band got lost somewhere along the way. No points deducted though, just in case. You'll get all the requisite information, notifications, and integrations that you want to come to your wrist, everything from text messages to calendar notifications and any other useful information you want your phone to pass along. That makes it a super capable and seamless partner for Samsung users. Back when I reviewed the Watch Active back in 2019, it was possible to get at least some use out of the watch, even if you used an Apple iPhone. Though Samsung didn't brag about it and they're not the kindest dance partners, you could use older watches if you owned an iPhone, but not anymore. Samsung has made its array of smartwatches incompatible with non-Android phones, so it's all but mandatory that if you want this watch, you have to have a Samsung phone. The Samsung Galaxy Watch 6 is running Google's Wear operating system, which means it should jive well with virtually any Android device released in the last few years. But keep in mind you'll find some Samsung sorcery in every corner, and some of that magic is only going to work if you pair it with a Samsung smartphone. On top of that, non-Samsung phone owners will have to deal with a slightly bumpier ride in the setup process, since you do need to install a couple of Samsung apps. You also need to make a Samsung account, and you'll have to embrace Samsung's own health platform. Using the ECG and blood pressure monitoring requires using a Samsung phone as well, so you'll want to understand that you won't get maximum value out of this smartwatch if you don't have a Samsung phone. Samsung tacked on an additional user interface layer called One UI. Essentially, it's an added layer of software that works hand in hand with Android but allows Samsung to customize the experience. One of the neat advantages of One UI is all the cool watch faces you'll get right out of the box. They make great use of the beautiful round display, and you can customize a lot of the elements so you can see stats you care about most right from the home screen. The other core advantage is the tight integration with Samsung Health, which is an app you can also find on the Google Play Store and Apple's App Store. Samsung Health has been around for a few years and has gone through all sorts of improvements and revisions to the point where it's kind of a kitchen sink of a health app, which may or may not be a good thing. You can do a bunch of stuff like manage your fitness activities, set health goals, monitor sleep, and get expert coaching, as well as tracking menstrual cycles and much more. If you have a favorite third-party health app, you might be able to install a Wear OS version of it so you can continue using that. But if you want super tight integration, you will have to make the Samsung Health switch, for better or for worse. Other Samsung exclusive features include the Bixby Voice Assistant and Samsung Wallet. These features are probably only worthwhile if you actively already use them on your phone. Holding the Samsung Watch's home button will summon the Bixby Voice Assistant by default, but fortunately you can either disable it or reconfigure it to launch the Google Assistant instead if you prefer. Samsung added a slightly bigger 425 mAh battery to improve the battery life, which is something that Galaxy Watch 5 owners complained about in the past. Samsung says you can expect about 30 to 40 hours of total battery life depending on if you have the always-on display turned on, which is about the same battery life as the Watch 5. Now in my testing, I'd say I got anywhere from 2 to 3 days of life from the watch depending on what I was doing with it, so I think that's about bang on. The Galaxy Watch 6 has an IP68 certification, which means it's impervious to both water and dust and meets military-grade test standards. Since the watch was on loan to me from Samsung, I didn't test this out. Overall, this watch is beautiful, capable, and fun. It becomes an extension of your Samsung phone really easily, and it means you can be a lot better informed and more productive too. If there was one big knock I can give to the Samsung Galaxy Watch 6, it could be the lack of sensor improvements, making this watch feel a bit more like a Galaxy Watch 5S. And this leads to my caveat that I mentioned earlier in my introduction, that this is the watch that Samsung phone owners who decided not to buy the Galaxy Watch 5 should get, because it really is what the Galaxy Watch 5 should have been. Now, if you have a Galaxy Watch 5, upgrading to the 6 could be tempting if you want the larger display, but I would actually recommend that you want to keep your Watch 5 and wait for a future product which may bring some more sensor improvements. Other potential downsides to this watch: the battery seems kind of on par with the previous generation, and the watch will definitely be a no-go for anyone outside the Samsung walled garden. But if, like me, it's been many years since you last strapped on a Samsung, this watch is a big leap forward, even if it has been blocked from working with an Apple iPhone. In short, I really like this watch, and I think it's the only real choice for Samsung phone users. The rest of us will have to make do with a lackluster Apple Watch or the much more capable and stylish Pixel Watch for Google phones. And you can check out that review here. You can also get a Samsung Galaxy Watch 6 for about $299 US or $409 Canadian. You can see what I thought about the jewelry-esque Huawei watch too right now.